Lewis Hamilton to Ferrari? What the hell just happened? Hey yo, Chris here. Welcome to the Delta. Thanks for tuning in. Well, let's just get right to the point. Lewis Hamilton is heading to Ferrari in 2025. So, I was up late last night putting together my Andretti rejection video, and I went to bed real happy, thinking, that was some pretty big news, but, we got car reveals and stuff like that coming up, so that should be it. That should be it with the major news, and I'll just kind of go to bed knowing that nothing major is going to happen. I wake up this morning, and because I'm bare minimum 5-6 hours behind Europe, I wake up to just bangers of articles, 4-5 hours ahead of time, saying that Lewis Hamilton is now going to Ferrari in 2025. And I was like, what the hell happened? I went to bed and everything was fine, and I woke up and the Formula One world has just turned upside down. But I guess we have to be like, what does this all mean? So the news came so sudden and so fast, we have to break it down. What does it mean for Ferrari? What does it mean for Mercedes? What does it mean for Lewis Hamilton? And what does it mean for Sainz, right? So, let's start at the beginning. Per Sky Sports News, Lewis Hamilton will leave Mercedes and join Ferrari for a 2025 Formula One season. Mercedes employees were informed of the news earlier in the day prior to the official statement from the team. I'm sure by the time that this video comes out, because again, I'm so far behind the news living in America, that this stuff will be confirmed by both Ferrari and Mercedes, and if not, it will certainly we will certainly hear from them sooner rather than later. But let's break this down as simple as possible. Hamilton out of Mercedes, Sainz out of Ferrari, and as Leclerc just extended his contract, it will be a Leclerc-Hamilton tandem in 2025. So let's just start with Ferrari. First of all, this is massive, massive news. We're talking about a 7-time world champion driving for arguably one of the most prestigious F1 teams in history. And Leclerc, by all accounts, he is supposed to be a champion caliber driver as well. Anything short of winning a Constructors' Championship will be considered a failure, in my opinion. And with these two drivers, falling short of one of them winning the Drivers' Championship should also be considered missing the mark. The biggest problem I see is who is going to be Ferrari's number one. Hamilton isn't just going to sit back and let Leclerc win. And likewise, Leclerc just isn't going to want to watch his opportunities at Ferrari as the number one driver just dwindle away just because Lewis Hamilton showed up. I suppose that's just a problem for Fred Vasseur and company to figure out come 2025, but given the history Ferrari has with decision making, I just hope the battle between drivers doesn't get in the way of the grand prize. My take on this whole thing is that as a Ferrari fan, I would be crazy to not think that a 7-time world championship joining the team wouldn't be amazing. This is huge news. If I were to compare this to the NBA and basketball, it would be my favorite team is competing for an NBA championship, and we're always falling short for one reason or another. And then LeBron James shows up. And now there's no way we can lose, right? That's how I feel like it's going to be. I do believe Ferrari is pushing hard towards hoisting more trophies, so that's why they're making this move. And if they're trying to do that, they're probably hoping that by 2025, the car is all figured out, it's fine-tuned, ready to go, with minimal to no issues. Kind of like how Red Bull was last season. Verstappen is the best driver out there, but their car was also the best car out there. They very rarely ran into mechanical issues. They rarely had any failures. They finished almost every race. Didn't Verstappen at least finish every race, if I remember correctly? I'm not 100% sure, but their mechanical problems were null and void all season. So you You top that with a good car, a good driver, and no mechanical issues. It's smooth sailing. Vasseur will also have a full handle on the team by then. Like he had last year as his first year, figure out what kind of issues they had. He had this offseason to make some changes. Then this season, he'll be able to test those changes out, and he'll be able to fine-tune and tweak even more come 2025. So basically, hopefully having a handle on the team, 2 world-class drivers at his disposal, hopefully that car is up and running and ready to go. Now, on a personal level, since I've been watching Formula One as a Ferrari fan since day one, I mean, I know it's only a short 3 years, but since day one, that 3rd year ago, I always thought, like, from what I've heard and what I've read and what I've seen, this is the year. This is the year Ferrari's going to show the world how great they are. Then, as the season unfolds, I just get disappointed. Mechanical breakdowns, pit stop errors, Leclerc crashing for no apparent reason, Carlos Sainz's car bursting into flames. Like just every race, it was just one little thing, and you saw the points get chipped away further and further and further. But now with the move with Hamilton, 2025 has to be the year. It has to be. I don't say that just because I'm the fan. I also say it because it has to be the standard. When you have the drivers you have, and you have the principal you have 2 world-class drivers on a world-class team 1 year prior to regulation changes, 2025 is like the year, because you have no idea what those regulation changes are going to do to your team the following season. Now, moving on to Mercedes, Hamilton's out. This opens up a seat, and we also now have a driver that needs a seat in Sainz. I don't necessarily think that this is just going to be a 1-for-1 driver swap. I wouldn't rule it out. I just don't see that path happening. I know Sainz's father has connections with Audi, but Audi isn't entering Formula One until 2026. So in the immediate, Sainz isn't going to move to Audi. But I also don't think Sainz to Audi is promised either. So Sainz to Mercedes is just as possible. But what Mercedes does have is a George Russell. And George Russell, he ebbs and flows throughout the season. He's not afraid to drive hard and push limits. And that reaps rewards for a guy like Russell, who's a number 2 driver. But that also means he tends to take himself out of a race. So the question really comes down to, does Mercedes hand over the keys to George Russell and make him the number 1? Or are they looking for another number 1 just to replace Hamilton right out the gate? I would think the transition from George to the number 1 seat and bringing somebody in would be like the simplest approach to the issue. But again, I'm not Toto Wolff. I'm not executives there. So that's their problem to figure out. But upon doing research, I was listening to multiple people have discussions and opinions, just like everyone else in the world over this whole thing. And this one gentleman, you have to forgive me, I don't know his name, and I can't remember his name. I don't know the British sports reporters that well. But he said there are some young guys in the junior ranks that are available, but none seem to be ready for the F1 circuit. And then obviously at the end of next year, there's a handful of contracts ending. So you could also just say, insert driver here. And I suppose that would also be a possibility. But this one reporter did say he would believe that it's Alex Albon. And I kind of buy into that. Alex Albon had an opportunity with Red Bull back in the day, and it didn't work out. He gained some experience with Williams, and he's clearly outperforming the car that Williams is putting out. Or that just means his teammate, whether it was Latifi or Sargent this year, is so bad that he just looks that much better. Nonetheless, you can clearly tell he's a competent driver. Maybe not the world's best driver, but maybe tie him in with George Russell. Mercedes might find something. It's not the worst upgrade, in my opinion. This would also allow like some wiggle room for Mercedes to decide who they want as their number 1. They can hand George Russell the keys, and if it doesn't work out, they can kind of go mid-season or even wait a season and be like, okay, we gave you a try, Russell. Let's give Albon a try. and then move along from there. Personally, I feel like Mercedes loses in all of this, though. They're the one that has to figure out all these problems. Ferrari's sitting there, playing with house money at this point. They have two good drivers. They have a pretty good principal. They believe in their car. They're not far off from competing in the World Championship. It's not like they're sitting in 6th, 7th place, and they're like, how are we going to jump 7 places to compete with Red Bull? They came in 3rd last year. And they make a few minor tweaks and changes to the car, a few better decisions, and they're at least finishing 2nd. Mercedes is the one that's going to struggle. I mean, it's not you can't just pluck a 7-time world champion right off a tree somewhere and be like, "Oh, here you go, sit in our car and make it work." Furthermore, last but not least, we got to go on to Sainz. As I stated earlier, he has ties to Audi, and his father drives for Audi in an endurance type of race. I believe it's called Dakar. It's there somewhere in, I believe, Saudi Arabia or something like that. I know next to nothing. All I know is that Sainz has a father that drives for Audi, so there's ties there. But again, since Audi isn't entering Formula 1 until 2026, what does that really mean for Sainz in 2025? And it's kind of difficult because does a team want Sainz for just 1 year, or does Sainz want to race for a team for just 1 year? I mean, and again, that's assuming Sainz wants to go to Audi. So it's just rather confusing. But let's just take Audi out of the equation immediately. And I got an idea. And hear me out. Piastri. Okay. I think Piastri is a fine driver. He's young and has promise. But is Piastri at the same level as Sainz? Let alone better. I don't think we can say Piastri is better than Sainz. But let's say, is Piastri at the same level as Sainz? And I would say no. I would say Sainz is an upgrade from Piastri. So if there was a way for McLaren to jettison their deal with Piastri, I could see Sainz driving for McLaren. Like, maybe McLaren could end up making Piastri the alternate for a season and see how that works. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud at this moment because Carlos Sainz and Lando Norris have history and chemistry. Back in 2019, Norris entered Formula 1, and his teammate was, that's right, Carlos Sainz. Again, I think there is an issue with the Piastri contract, but if McLaren wants to make their own push for a championship in 2025, I don't see why a Norris-Sainz tandem would not have an opportunity to make a push. And I guess the other option is obviously Sainz to Mercedes. It makes sense in the most direct way possible. Mercedes wants quality drivers. They need a guy in an open seat. They have George Russell. So much like Sainz racing side by side with Lando, you'd have a good tandem with Russell and Sainz as well. And I guess the final option is maybe Sainz just takes a year off. That sounds kind of weird to hear a driver take a year off, but I don't think it would be improbable. I think he takes a year off, waits for Audi to come by, Sainz right on the dotted line, boom, number 1 driver for Audi. With the Hamilton and Ferrari news, clearly the 2025 season has been shook up already, and we haven't even gotten through or even started the 2024 season yet. From my American perspective, I find all of this weird. It's a very weird concept for a person to go play for a team, or in this case, race for a team, for a year, knowing that he will not partake in any of the future endeavors this team has after the year's over. Like in the NBA, Major League Baseball, and NHL, their players move all the time. And when it happens, it's immediate. If it's in the off season, you could have a guy, he plays for, let's say, the Pittsburgh Steelers. And during the off season, he gets told, or a deal gets made, and a negotiation is confirmed. Hey, you're going to go play for the Indianapolis Colts. He's no longer a Steeler that day. He now reports to the Indianapolis Colts. But to make things even more weird, outside, there's mid-season moves as well. Like, you can have a guy play a game 1 week, trade gets done, and now he plays for a new team the next week. But I've even seen player movement in mid-game. But what makes it different than Formula One is the guy literally stopped playing for the team in the mid-game. It is bizarre to watch because it's one, rare, but two, it's kind of funny. Like you'll see like a basketball player or baseball player or hockey player get brought to the side, and the coach will whisper something in his ear. Usually then the player has a little bit of shock in his face because he's in the middle of a game. He's trying to win a game for his team right now. He's in the jersey, on the court, ready to go, putting up points, playing defense. And then he gets told, "Oh, by the way, the organization has moved you over to this team." And then sure enough, he walks off the court into the locker room, showers, changes. I'm assuming then has media press, but he's out. He's done. And then the next day, if they have another game, he's already in that jersey playing. So the idea that Hamilton and Sainz will be racing for a team this year, knowing that they're not going to be there next year, is just odd. I feel like you take away all the incentive for a guy to try, or in fact, maybe even have incentive for a guy not to try. Because I'm just like imagining this conversation. "Hello, Carlos. We're really hoping that you help in assisting Charles win a driver's championship this year. And help us, with a constructor's championship as well. But oh yeah, you won't be racing for us next year. Lewis Hamilton's taking your seat. Anyways, see you at car launch. Thanks. Bye." Like, that's weird. Like, what is Carlos supposed to think right there? Like, where's his drive to even care? Like, at that point, like he's racing just for himself. He's the one trying to put on tape. "Hey, Carlos, I need you to let Leclerc pass so he can get the points." If I'm Carlos, I'm sitting there going, no, I'm in third place right now. I'm holding a podium spot. So he's going to have to fight for that position. And I don't know, maybe accidentally we bump. That would be a shame. I don't know. Maybe in the process of me defending Leclerc, both of us missed the podium. Now we're all missing out on points. Because all I know is I'm supposed to fight for myself because you're getting rid of me. I'm jobless. I'm jobless at the end of this year. And the same with like Mercedes. Like, what's Hamilton care what Mercedes wants to do throughout the season and upcoming? Toto Wolff over here saying, "Hamilton, I need you to give it your all here so I can collect some data so I know how to make the car better, stronger, faster, whatever." And Hamilton's like, "Why do I care about you and your car? I race for Ferrari next year." Anyway, that's what crosses my mind. I just find the whole competing with a team that doesn't not necessarily not want you, but at least not going to be partaking in future endeavors with, is just weird. Anyways, what an unexpected breaking news event. It's mind-blowing. 2025 is going to be insane, and I'm sure the news cycles all throughout the 2024 season are going to be filled with hot takes and opinions and all that other stuff just based off of this story alone. But that's it. Hamilton to Ferrari 2025. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. And until the next news event that I'm unprepared for, take care, stay safe, and have fun out there. Thanks. See you, everybody. Bye.